Guys, welcome back to One Stop Biology. So in today's video, we are going to start off with a very new chapter, the chapter 9th of class 11th, which is Biomolecules. So guys, before we start off with the chapter, I hope you have undergone the last few videos that I have made for the previous chapters, and I hope you are catching up with the pace that I'm teaching with. Do let me know, in comments, what do you feel about the video? Do like it and share it with your friends if you understand these topics that I teach on a day-to-day basis. And I hope I'll get your comments and I hope I'll get your feedback so that I can improvise even better and make these videos even better for you to understand. So guys, let's start with biomolecules. So basically, guys, now for the fact we know that there is a wide diversity of living organisms in our biosphere on Earth, right? So, and we also now understand that all of these living organisms are made up of some chemicals. There are certain chemicals out of which we all are made up of, right? These can be elements, these can be compounds, right? So basically, biomolecules, the chapter on biomolecules is nothing but studying these elements, these compounds, these chemicals that we are made up of, right? So basically, the definition of biomolecule is nothing but that all the carbon compounds, remember guys, all the carbon compounds that we get from living tissues, they are known as biomolecules. So bio means life and molecules means these small elements, right? So basically, any kind of carbon compound that we get from any kind of living tissues, be it of humans, be it of in general mammals or plants or anything, any living tissue that we can think of, are basically biomolecules. And elemental analysis of, of the body gives elemental composition of the living tissues, basically in the form of hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, carbon, and all that, right? And basically, while we analyze all these compounds, we get a fair idea of what kind of organic and inorganic constituents are involved in making up living and non-living matter, right? So if you see the comparison, there is a chart here, guys. If you see a comparison here of non-living and living matter, so the non-living matter here is nothing but the Earth's crust, and the living matter is what is present in the human body, right? So if you see here, you'll see that hydrogen is present in the percentage weight of 0.14% in Earth's crust and 0.5% in human's body. Carbon, again, the percentage weight here in Earth's crust is 0.03, and in case of human body, it's 18.5. Oxygen, 46.6 in case of Earth's crust and 65% in case of human body. Nitrogen, again, negligible in case of Earth's crust and 3.3% in case of human body. So there are a lot of elements mentioned here, and then we see that these contribute to both Earth's crust, which is a non-living matter, and human body, which is a living matter. Now, it can be very little or negligible, or it can be very high, as in the case of oxygen in human body being 65% weight, right? So basically, guys, you can see that so many different type of elements are involved in living and non-living matter both, right? Now, if you talk about, the different components and their formula, it's basically part of chemistry, but since it's mentioned in NCERT, I've mentioned it here that sodium is said to be Na plus, potassium K plus, calcium Ca double plus, so 2 plus. Magnesium again Mg2 plus, and water H2O, right? So there are a lot of compounds now like NaCl, calcium carbonate, and all that, which are involved in making up these living matter, living or non-living matter. So basically, talking about the living matter, guys, now there are basically many kinds of organic compounds which are used up by the living matter, which are basically part of the living matter, right? So see, if I have to classify these compounds from a biological point of view, I can classify them as amino acids, amino acids. I can classify as them as nucleotide bases, fatty acids, right? And all these. So let's talk about amino acids in general. Now, amino acids are organic compounds which contain amino group, right? So they basically have an amino group and then they also have an acidic group which is a substituent on the same carbon, and this carbon is known as the alpha carbon, and that is why they are known as alpha amino acids, right? These are basically substituted methanes. Methane is CH4 and this is so the hydrogen, so it's basically like this, right? CH4. So these hydrogens are substituted, right? And four substituent group occupy four valency positions. So basically there's one hydrogen. So one hydrogen is present. You have one carboxyl group. You have one ammonia group, basically amino group. And then there is a variable group which is denoted by R. So if I have to talk about the amino acid, it will be something like here you have the carbon, right? Then you have one H, so one hydrogen is present. You have one carboxylic acid, you have one amino group, and then you have one substituent R, right? So this is nothing but the basic amino acid. Now, basically the nature of R group, this, right? So this can form different types of amino acids depending upon what is present in place of R, what kind of substituent is present in place of R. And if we talk about the total number of amino acids, we basically have 20 different types of amino acids, right? So basically the R group is different for different amino acids, right? Now, if I talk about the chemical and physical properties of amino acids, basically it is dependent on the amino, the carboxyl, and the R functional group, right? So basically, on the basis of the amino and carboxyl group, the amino acid can be either acidic or basic or neutral. So if I talk about examples, guys, if I talk about examples, see the example of acidic is glutamic acid, again an amino acid. The example of basic is lysine, and the example of neutral amino acid is valine, right? So in the same way, there can be aromatic amino acids, right? So like tyrosine or phenylalanine or tryptophan, all these are aromatic amino acids. Now again, there is one more property of amino acid, which is that they are ionizable in nature, right? So the NH, the basically NH2 and COOH groups, these two groups are ionizable, right? And that is why if I talk about the structure here, right? So if you see the structure here, basically you see that here, this one, right? You can see that there is a COOH, there is an H3 plus, and there is R, and there is one H. Now here if you see, basically this is known as the Zwitter ion form. This is the Zwitter ionic form. So here now there is COO minus 1H here is gone, right? And you have and here positive charge, here negative charge, right? And again if you come here, you'll see that you have just a negative charge and positive charge is gone. So here you have positive charge, here you have negative charge, here you have both, and this is known as the Zwitter ionic form, right? So basically this ionizable nature of amino acid is one of its characteristics. Now let's come to lipids in the same way. Now lipids, guys, usually are water insoluble. You cannot dissolve lipid in water. Basically, they are known as fatty acids. They could be simple fatty acid. Now, if I talk about the fatty acid, it has a carboxyl group which is attached to an R group, right? So it has basically, say, a COOH, carboxylic acid, and this carboxylic acid is attached to an R group. Now, this again will differ. So, say in the case of, methyl, it can be CH3, COOH. In case of ethyl, it can be C2H5, COOH, right? So, now the R group, right? It can be even up to 19 carbons. So it can be of one carbon, like in case of CH3, and it can go up to 19 carbons. So 1C to 19C R's can be there, right? One of the example is that palmitic acid. Palmitic acid basically has 16 carbons, including the carboxyl carbon. So if I talk about the structure of palmitic acid, which is a form of lipid, it is CH3CH2 14 times COOH. So if you see the number of carbons, 14 here, because it's to the power 14, right? So it's 14, 15, and 16, right? So it has 16 carbon, right? In the same way, there is another arachidonic acid, which has 20 carbon atoms, including the carboxyl carbon. So including the carboxyl carbon, arachidonic, arachidonic acid has 20 carbon, including the carboxyl carbon. Right. Now, fatty acids can be, saturated, which is without double bond, or it can be unsaturated. That means one or more than carbon double bonds. Right. So basically, if I show you the structures as well, guys, right? So we say that many lipids have both glycerol and fatty acids like monoglycerides, diglycerides, triglycerides, and these are also known as fats and oils based on their melting point. So in the case of oil, we say that they have lower melting point, right? And that is why if you see that oil, they remain as oil in winter, right? It has lower winter, but lower melting point, right? While fats, they have, higher melting point. So basically, some lipids have phosphorus and phosphorylated organic compounds in them as well, and these are known as phospholipids. These are known as phospholipids. Now, these phospholipids are usually found in cell membrane. So, if you remember the structure of cell membrane, these phospholipids are found in cell membrane, and one of the example is lecithin. Lecithin. Right? Now, some tissues, especially if you talk about the neural tissue, they have more complex structures, right? So, in the same way, guys, we have, nucleotides, nucleosides. So, we have the carbon compounds with heterocyclic rings like nitrogenous bases, right? So, if you talk about adenine, guanine, cytosine, uracil, and thymine, all of these are nitrogenous bases. These nitrogen bases plus sugar forms nucleosides, and then these nucleosides, when attached with a phosphate group, they form nucleotides. So guys, these basically are constituents of DNA, RNA. DNA, RNA, they contains nothing but these nucleotides, and DNA and RNA are the genetic material. Now let's see different types of structure once, guys. I'll show you all these structures so that you can picture it well. Now, can you see some of the structures here? So two, the first two that you see is sugar or carbohydrate is what they are called. These two are carbohydrates. This is glucose and this is ribose. If I have to write their formula, this is say C6H12 and O6. So here these points that you see, these are carbon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon. Right? Again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and here one O is there, 6 oxygen. And then 12 hydrogen. If I talk about ribose, it is C5H10O5. So these are carbohydrates, these are sugars. Now the next three that you see here, these three are amino acids. These are amino acids. So with this is the R group, right? So here if it's a simple hydrogen which acts as the R group, it is glycine, the simplest amino acid. If there is a CH3, a methyl group, it is alanine. If it is an ethyl alcohol, sorry, methyl alcohol, it is serine, right? So you can see as the R group changes here, you have different amino acids formed, right? In the same way, guys, here, this, I have already shown you the formula before. This is a fatty acid. This is 16 carbon, palmitic acid. This is glycerol. Again, this is a triglyceride, right? So there is three R1, R2, and R3. All three are fatty acids. R1, R2, R3 are fatty acids, right? In the same way, we spoke about phospholipid. This is a phospholipid. Lecithin, present in, it's present where? It is present in the cell membrane, the plasma membrane, right? This is cholesterol. So these are basically lipids. These are basically lipids, fats and oils, right? Now let's move towards the last section once. Let's move towards the last section. Here what you see, these two, this one and this one. What's this? These are nitrogenous bases. Which one? This is adenine, which is a form of purine. This is uracil, which is a pyrimidine. These two are nucleosides. So this is adenosine. This is uridine. So basically it is attached to the nitrogenous base is attached to a sugar here and they form nucleosides. Now these two, this guys, this is a nucleotide. So this is adenylic acid. So when the nucleoside is attached to a phosphate group, it becomes nucleotide, In this nucleotide, these type of nucleotides form the basis of DNA, RNA. They are the genetic material, right? So you can see so many different types of chemical compounds are there which form our body. So guys, with this we have basically, brushed up basically our basics of biomolecules, wherein we talked about a bit about amino acids, then lipids, fats and oils, and then also the composition of DNA and RNA. Our body is made up of nothing but the different type of chemicals, right? So guys, I hope you would have understood the basic of biomolecules and what different kind of biomolecules are present in our body. So do like the video, share it with your friends, and if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get all the interesting updates. And yes, if you have any doubt regarding this video, please do share it. Please ask me your doubts through the comment section on this video, or you can also share your doubts through WhatsApp. I have given WhatsApp number in the description of this video. But yes, please do give your feedback regarding this video, guys. I'll be waiting for it. See you in the next video. Bye bye.